Good morning, students. Welcome to this lecture. So, in previous lecture for this automobile gearboxes, we discussed the interpretation of curves for first gear, and we are in the meaning of second gear. So, this time the curve of tractive effort in second gear is going to intersect the total resistances curve R2, R3 and R4. If you see here, second gear, that is the total, this resistance, this tractive effort curve in the second gear, for second gear is going to intersect the total resistances R2, R3 and R4 at point E, F and G. So accordingly, NE, NF and NG are the limiting speed for the second gear for these different resistances. Getting for this different resistance. If the vehicle is moving such that it has to overcome the resistance R2, getting. If the vehicle is moving such that it has to overcome the resistance R2, so it cannot be attain a speed greater than NE. Getting. It cannot attain the speed greater than NE. Getting. So for getting a speed higher than NE, the third gear has to be engaged. Similar to first gear. Getting. So in first gear, to attain the speed more than NA, you have to engage the second gear. For second gear, if you have to attain the speed more than the NE for the R2 resistors, you have to shift the gear in a third gear. So now in third gear, so this curve represents the tractive effort curve for the third gear. So if the vehicle is facing total resistances in third gear, that is R3 and R4, then the limiting speed will be NH and NG. Getting. For third gear, the limiting speed will be the NH and NG. So the NJ speed will be the maximum or the highest speed of the vehicle. NJ speed will be the maximum or highest speed. Getting. This speed J. Getting. So NJ speed will be the highest speed. As at this speed, the vehicle is overcoming the lowest resistance R. So with this speed, NJ speed, vehicle is going to overcome the lowest resistances which can be vehicle encounter on the road surface. Now in shifting the back from third to the first gear, in shifting back from third gear to the first gear, so when vehicle is moving on a flat road in third gear, finds a steepy upward gradient. When your vehicle is moving with a third gear on a flat road, and if your vehicle finds a steepy upward gradient, it faces an increased total resistances. Meaning, when your vehicle is moving on the flat road with the third gear, with the top gear, that is third gear, and if your vehicle finds the steepy upward gradient, so that time the lowest resistance is going to be highest resistance as your vehicle finds the steepy gradient. So it faces an increased total resistance. Less the lowest resistance R4 on the flat road becomes highest R1. This R4 becomes the R1. Becomes the R1 at steepy gradient road. So then the tractive effort in third gear is insufficient. Tractive effort in third gear is insufficient to overcome the highest resistance R1. Highest resistance R1. And therefore, the third gear needs to be shifted back to the second gear. Third gear shifted to the second gear. So from figure you can see, if we see that the tractive effort of second gear also unable to compensate the resistance R1. With the second gear, it is also not possible to overcome the resistance R1, highest resistance R1 with second gear. And hence, the second gear is to be shifted to the first. Hence, second gear has to be shifted back to the first gear. Thus, the vehicle can ride up the steepy hill with the first gear only. With the first gear only. So, we are going to engage the different gears as per the available resistances, as per the encountered resistances on the road surface. So that is very important point regarding the exam point of view. So many times it will be asked interpretation of curve. why we are going to engage the first gear, why we are going to engage the second, third, why you are going to shift from third to second, from second to first. So these are the different reasons are there. And here in the slides we are discuss whatever we have discussed, that is also here mentioned in this slide. So you can read this slide and you can go through that curves. So you can easily got the idea. Now we'll see the definition of gears. The definition of the gears. So gears are the toothed members which transmits power or motion between two shafts by meshing without any slip. Hence, the gear drives are also called positive drives. In any pair of gears, the smaller one is called pinion and the larger one is called the gear immaterial of which is a driving the other. The smaller gear is known as pinion, larger one that is called the gear. When pinion is the driver, it results in step down drive in which output speed decreases and torque increases. Obviously, pinion means the smaller number of teeth and gear means that is a larger number of teeth. If pinion is going to drive the gear, obviously what happens? The speed decreases. It results in a step down the drive in which output speed decreases and torque increases. Vice versa. If gear is to be driver, then pinion is a driven. In that case, it results in step up drive in which output speed increases and the torque decreases. Getting? So that is about the gears. So classification of gears. The gears are classified according to the shape of the tooth pair and disposition into spur, helical, double helical, straight bevel, spiral bevel, hypoid bevel, worm gears. So you can see in this figure different types of gears that is to be used in the automobile gearboxes. Spur gear, helical gear, double helical gear, internal gear, rack and pinion, straight bevel gear, spiral bevel gear and worm gear. So for the automobile gearboxes, generally we are going to prefer the helical gears. Getting? For automobile gearboxes, we are going to prefer the helical gears or herringbone gears. What are the use of internal gear, rack and pinion or bevel gear, spiral bevel or worm gear? That is also used in the gearboxes, but it is not the automobile gearbox. It is used with the steering gearbox. It is used with differential gearing. In that case, we are going to use the rack and pinion, straight bevel gear, spiral bevel gear or worm gear. Let us discuss the spur gears. If you see the figure for the spur gear, here it is shown the spur gear. So spur gears have their teeth parallel to the axis. If you see, the teeth is parallel to the axis and are used for transmitting power between two parallel shafts. They are simple in construction, easy to manufacture and cost is less. They have highest efficiency and excellent precision rating. They are used in high speed and high load application in all types of trains and a wide range of velocity ratios. So spur gear is the simplest type of gear which are used to transfer power between two parallel shafts. The teeth cut on them are parallel to the axis. And because of that, such a gear produces much noise. So they are to be used in the sliding mesh gearbox in earlier stages. Now you see the helical gear. Helical gear. So helical gears are used for the parallel drives, parallel shaft drives. They have teeth inclined to the axis as shown in figure. In this case, teeth are parallel to the axis. In this case, teeth are inclined to the axis. Hence, for the same width, the teeth are longer than the spur gears. So point of contact is a mower and have higher load carrying capacity. Their contact ratio is higher than spur gears and they operate smoother and quieter than the spur gear. So similar to spur gears, this gear also used for transfer the power between two parallel shafts, but the teeth cut on them are not parallel to their axis. Instead of that, they are inclined at an angle to the axis and form the helix contour, means helix shape. Due to such a teeth profile, the helical gears run smoother and quieter than the spur gears. However, they produce end thrust on the shaft. Therefore, they are used with thrust washers. So, many times they are going to be asked why helical gear is to be preferred in the gearboxes. So important reason is that high load carrying capacity and the quieter operation. Hearing. It is a quieter in a operation, smooth in a operation. That is the important advantage of the helical gear. Now we'll discuss the gear trains. Before starting the types of the gearbox, we'll discuss the gear trains. So a combination of two or more gears which mesh in such a way that power is transmitted from driving shaft to driven shaft is known as a gear train or gear set. A pair of two meshing gears is nothing but a gear train. This combination of two or more gears is nothing but a gear train or gear sets. So types of gear trains: simple gear train, compound gear train, epicyclic gear train. These are the important types of the gear trains. So see the simple gear train. If the axis of all gears remain fixed, relative to each other, the gear train is known as simple gear train. A simple gear train is shown in figure, where there is only one gear on each shaft. So the ideal gears are used for the following two purposes. This is driver gear, driven gear. These are the intermediate gear, means it is the ideal gears. It is the ideal gears. So ideal gears are used for the following two purposes: to connect gears where a large center distance is required. As between driver gear and driven gear, there is a large distance is there. So to connect these gears where the large distance is there, these intermediate gears or ideal gears are used. To obtain the desired direction of motion of the driven gear, that is clockwise or anti-clockwise, such a type of simple gear train is to be used. Simple gear train that is shown in this figure. So it consists of driver gear and driven gear, and in between the gears, the intermediate gears are to be provided. Then compound gear train. So there are more than gear on the shaft, generally intermediate shaft in a compound gear train. So two gears are moved on intermediate shaft, therefore both gears have same speed. Compound gear train is shown in this figure. Gear 2 and 3. Gear 2 and 3 will rotate at the same speed as they are mounted on the same shaft. Driven gear is also known as a follower. Advantage: the compound gear train over a simple gear train is that a much larger speed reduction from first shaft to the last shaft can be obtained with small gears. So why need of compound gear train is arises? As a simple gear train are practically not feasible because of non-compact arrangement. Simple gear train are practically not feasible due to their non-compact arrangement. A compound gear train is therefore a logical solution as each shaft carries two or more gears on it. The compound gear trains chiefly constitute on the basis of automotive gearbox working. So by that way, the compound gear train is mainly used in the all automobile gearboxes. So that is about the compound gear train. Then epicyclic gear train. If the axle of the shaft on which gears are attached move relative to fixed axis, then the gear train is known as epicyclic gear. If the axis of shaft on which gears are attached move relative to fixed axis, here you suppose there are axis, shaft is there for the sun gear, shaft for this planetary gear, shaft for this ring gear. Accordingly, there is a relative motion between the fixed axis. Then this gear train is known as epicyclic gear train. So this is the lowest gear ratio is attainable with epicyclic gear train. This type of gearing is sometimes used in tractors and construction equipment to provide high torque to the drive wheels. Nowadays, you can find application of such a gear trains in the automatic gear transmission system. So already you are studied velocity ratio.